Here are the top stories for today, the 4th of April 2022. Oil firms will implement a rollback in fuel prices effective tomorrow, easing motorist burden amid developments in the global oil trade. The Commission on Elections is running after purveyors of fake news, tarnishing the sanctity of the electoral process. The Philippine National Police tags 114 areas in the country as red areas for the 2022 polls. These areas need special attention in terms of security due to intense political rivalry and violence. And government officials wish Filipino Muslims goodwill and peace as the holy month of Ramadan starts, a month of fasting, prayer, and reflection. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. After a hefty price hike last week, motorists are in for a little breathing space this week as oil firms will cut pump prices. Effective tomorrow, Clean Fuel and Petrogas will cut gasoline prices by 2 pesos and 30 centavos per liter. Diesel prices will also go down by 1 peso and 80 centavos per liter. Other oil firms have yet to announce their price rollback. The Department of Energy earlier said the move comes amid improving talks between Russia and Ukraine and the United States' move to release oil reserves, contributing to a slight stability in global oil prices. With a little over a month before the country goes to the polls, the Commission on Elections is not taking things sitting down in fighting fake news. Speaking at a Laging Handa briefing today, Commissioner George Erwin Garcia says they are looking at forming a task force that will go after these purveyors of misinformation. He says the task force will deal with fake news that affect not only the poll body, but the entire election process. He adds that the people behind these malicious information should be held accountable as they undermine the sanctity of the ballot and efforts of the poll body and other sectors in ensuring orderly polls. This comes following information that the elections are already finished at a 100% voter turnout and that some ballots have already been pre-shaded. Garcia also clarifies it is up for the candidates themselves to deal with fake news against them. The Philippine National Police has recommended placing 114 areas in the country under red category for the May 9 elections. Being placed under this category means there is a need for the highest level of security amid the polls. PNP Chief General Leonardo Carlos says these areas are known to have rampant poll-linked violence, intense political rivalry, and presence of armed groups that may disrupt the polls. Carlos has already ordered police commanders to focus on these areas to be able to stabilize the security situation. The Commission on Elections earlier said it is keeping a close watch on 300 areas in the country that may be classified as areas of concern. It has yet to release the list as these areas are still undergoing verification, which will determine whether these will be classified as areas of concern. President Rodrigo Duterte joins Muslim Filipinos in the observance of Ramadan. In a palace statement, the president wished Filipino Muslims here and abroad Ramadan Mubarak, or a blessed Ramadan, acknowledging the occasion as a reminder of Allah's mercy and blessings. He wished that the holy month would be truly holy and meaningful and would bring Muslim Filipinos even closer to Allah. Several lawmakers also sent their messages of peace. Senator Risa Ontiveros said Ramadan is a time for reflection and self-restraint. She said, now more than ever, we need to take the time to nourish our spirits as we strive to recover from crisis and conflicts. Detained Senator Laila de Lima expressed her desire that Muslims always find hope and inspiration from the holy tradition in demonstrating strong faith and solidarity to achieve shared causes for truth, justice, and inclusive growth. Senator Panfilo Lacson wished more blessings for all Muslim Filipinos. Senator Sherwin Gatchalian and Aquilino Pimentel III also sent their Ramadan messages of peace. Ramadan, the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, is a month of fasting, prayer, and reflection for Muslims. Devout Muslims fast every day from dawn to sunset during the entire Ramadan, which they consider a period of introspection, communal prayer in the mosque, and reading of the Quran. They also give alms to the poor and abstain from vices. The end of Ramadan, also known as Eid al-Fitr, will be celebrated on the first 3 days of the Shawwal, or the 10th month of the Islamic calendar. If the Commission on Elections will have its way, it wants to make skipping debates a ground for disqualification from the polls. Comelec Commissioner George Erwin Garcia says they will ask lawmakers to make attendance in debates mandatory for bets in the next elections. Speaking at the Laging Handa briefing, Garcia says debates are not just a mere activity but an avenue for candidates to clearly present their plans for the country. He adds debates will also show how candidates will deal with problems and issues hounding the country. Garcia says they want to make absence in debates an election offense in order for them to be compelled to show up. As for now, no law penalizes no-shows at full debates. The measure will cover both national and local candidates.
Nakikita kasi natin yung kahalagahan ng debate na hindi ito basta-basta lamang isang aktibidad. Ang debate, sabi ko nga para itong isang pintuan na magpapakita sa iyo ng kaloob-looban at kaisipan ng isang kandidato. Napaka-importante po ito dahil makikita rin ang kahandaan ng kandidato na humarap sa kanyang mga kababayan na hinililigawan niya. At the same time, nailahad yung kanyang nasa isip at yung kanyang karanasan.
Still ahead, a palace official prods Congress to pass the Freedom of Information Bill. And the Department of Public Works and Highways seeks the support of an international lender for development projects in Sulu. We're back after a quick break. Keep it here on the PNA Newsroom.
Commander Dito Ocampo po ng Philippine Coast Guard Auxiliary para sa kumpanyang Disiplina Muna na pinangungunahan ng DILG. Bakit natin kailangan magpabakuna laban sa COVID-19? Dahil mahal mo ang iyong sarili, pamilya at bayan. Ang bakuna ang tiyak na paraan para tuluyang mapigilan ang pagkalat ng virus. May mga patunay na mababa ang porsyento ng pagkalat ng COVID-19 sa mga nabakunahan na. At matapos mabakunahan, malaki na ang tsansa na makabalik ka sa normal mong pamumuhay. Kaya tulad ko magparehistro na at magpabakuna na kontra COVID-19. Muli po, ako si Commander Dito Ocampo, Disiplina Muna Ambassador. Nagpapaalala, huwag matakot magpabakuna dahil bida ang may disiplina. Magparehistro tayo at magpabakuna para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bayan.
Malacanang has renewed its call on Congress for the immediate passage of the Freedom of Information Bill. In his Just So You Know vlog uploaded on the FOI Philippines official Facebook page, Acting Deputy Presidential Spokesperson and Communications Undersecretary Chris Ablan stressed the need to pass the FOI bill, noting that the measure would promote transparency in government transactions and help gain public trust.
FOI was able to open the doors and windows of government offices to Filipino people.
If you could talk to the Congress, what would you tell them?
Pass the FOI law now.
Malacanang has repeatedly kept its distance from the cases involving the Kingdom of Jesus Christ or KOJC founder Pastor Apollo Kibuloy, but assures that President Rodrigo Duterte will execute the laws accordingly over the issue. This after the United States Department of Justice announced that a co-accused of Kibuloy, Los Angeles-based paralegal Maria De Leon, has agreed to cooperate with U.S. federal authorities. De Leon admitted to preparing and filing fraudulent documents that would grant U.S. residency and citizenship to members of the Kibuloy-founded kingdom. Moreover, the U.S. DOJ said the alleged donations in the church were used to finance its operations and the lavish lifestyles of its leaders. Acting presidential spokesperson Martin Andanar said Quiboloy is a private individual who can defend himself in court. Measures are in place to address the possible technical difficulties during elections. Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police is all out in implementing the election gun ban. The details from Marita Moahe.
The Commission on Elections in Northern Mindanao says it will put provincial hubs to address technical difficulties during the May 9 elections. Comelec Region 10 Director Francisco Pobe said these hubs will enable technical personnel to immediately attend to possible concerns about the operations of the vote counting machines. Pobe also reiterates the need to strictly implement the minimum health protocols during all election-related activities. Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police or PNP says over 2,300 individuals were arrested for violating the election gun ban. The top 5 regions in terms of the number of arrested violators are the National Capital Region, followed by Calabarzon, Central Visayas, Central Luzon, and Western Visayas. Violators face imprisonment of not less than 1 year but not more than 6 years and shall not be subject to probation. In Zamboanga City, the local government is appealing to the Comelec to allow them to continue the distribution of food assistance to COVID-19 patients. The said activity was temporarily stopped as it is prohibited under the Comelec rule. The City Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council or CDRRMC has already submitted its resolution seeking for an exemption from the ban. Aside from food aid, the city government is also providing financial assistance to COVID-19 survivors. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Marita Moahe.
The Department of Public Works and Highways is asking the World Bank for support in pushing several infrastructure projects in Sulu. DPWH Undersecretary and Build Chief Implementer Emil Sadain said initial talks have been made with World Bank officials to finance the projects. The initial budget for possible road and water projects is estimated at $50 million. This baseline amount will be provided for the improvement and preservation of the 162-kilometer Sulu Island Circumferential Road. About 64 kilometers of the road is proposed to undergo upgrading and rehabilitation, while asset preservation works on the remaining 97 kilometers will extend the lifespan of the road pavement. The DPWH also assessed the operations of existing groundwater supply sources in Barangay Asturias, Holo, and in Barangay Umangay, Patikul Town. The Department of Labor and Employment has disbursed a total of 44 million pesos in wages in Ilocos Region under its flagship employment program in the first quarter of 2022. About 12,000 workers in the informal sector has benefited from the Tulong Panghanapbuhay sa Ating Disadvantaged Displaced Workers program. The workers rendered various community work that include cleaning and disinfection and greening and tree planting activities. Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III said DOLE is grateful to have been part of a program that has recreated jobs and provided a respite for those who were most affected by the pandemic. Regional Director Evelyn Ramos said DOLE continues to implement TUPAD as it has been exempted from the election ban by the Commission on Elections or Comelec. She said safety measures are in place to ensure the program remains nonpartisan. More stories from the newsroom. A health official says the transmission of avian influenza to humans is low. And a local carrier resumes flights to Hong Kong after the island lifts some travel curbs. Details ahead. Stay with the PNA Newsroom. The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly changed our lives for the worse. Lives and jobs were lost and economies reached a meltdown. Thanks to the arrival of safe and effective vaccines, we are one step closer to normalcy. It's time to do our part, get vaccinated for our safety and for our recovery.
If you are there in that community, go there and have yourself vaccinated by any of the vaccines available. They are all potent, they are all effective. I would like to appeal to all our kababayans, please get vaccinated against COVID-19 and be the government partner in preventing further spread of the disease. I encourage you to get vaccinated as soon as possible time. These vaccines are safe and they are the key to reopening our society. The need for international solidarity and cooperation cannot be made clearer than this pandemic, because everyone is safe. No one is safe globally until everybody is safe.
Vaccines work. You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. A teenage member of the New People's Army surrendered to authorities following a series of operations in northern Mindanao. More on this from Stephanie Sevillano.
A series of combat operations by the Army's 4th Infantry Division last week led to the surrender of an 18-year-old female New People's Army rebel and the recovery of several firearms. The NPA rebel, identified as MJ, surrendered and revealed an arms cache in Sitio Bahogani, Barangay Ibuan, Las Nieves, Agusan del Norte. MJ was wounded in encounters with state forces in Barangay Tungao, Butuan City. Earlier, government troops seized NPA firearms at Sitio Bendum, Barangay Busdi, in Malaybalay, Bukidnon, as well as Sitio Hubason, Barangay San Vicente Carmen, Surigao del Sur. In Negros Occidental, government soldiers neutralized 2 more rebels in Barangay Buenavista, Himamaylan City on Friday afternoon. The casualties were identified as Albert Carding Nicolas Quilano and Jessica Lea Luiso Quilano, both of Centro de Gravidad Platoon of Central Negros Front 2. Their deaths were reported a week after 2 of their comrades also died in a clash with the 94th Infantry Battalion. Meanwhile, policemen recovered firearms, ammunition, and explosives from 2 suspected members of the CPP-NPA in Caloocan City, Negros Oriental. One member, Nelfa Sandot de Lima, was arrested while another, Jerry Montero Montefalcon, remains at large. Both are allegedly sanctioned guerrilla unit secretaries of the Central Negros Front 1 of the NPA. Cases for violation of the Comprehensive Firearms and Ammunition Regulation Act and illegal possession of firearms, ammunition, or explosives are now being readied against the suspects. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Stephanie Sevillano.
The Department of Health assures that the possibility of avian flu virus transmission to humans is low. This after the Department of Agriculture declared an avian flu outbreak in certain areas. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere, however, advised the public to avoid contact with wild birds, sick birds, or people who have been in close contact with these birds or fowl. Earlier, the DA said the H5N1 strain or virus occurring mainly in birds has been detected in duck and quail farms in Bulacan, Pampanga, Laguna, and Camarines Sur. In case avian flu infection happens in the country, Vergere said the observance of minimum public health protocols will be effective in combating it, as it is a respiratory infection similar to COVID-19. And in other news, low-cost carrier Cebu Pacific has resumed its flights between Manila and Hong Kong just in time after the island lifted travel curbs on certain countries. The carrier reminded passengers that only Hong Kong residents, holders of the Special Administrative Region Passport or British National Passport, and individuals with Hong Kong document of identity will be allowed to board the aircraft. Overseas Filipino workers with work visas are considered Hong Kong residents. Meanwhile, fully vaccinated passengers are advised to prepare a negative PCR-based nucleic acid test for COVID-19, confirmation of room reservation in a hotel for 7 or 14 nights, and a recognized vaccination record such as the International Certificate of Vaccination or Prophylaxis and VaxCert-PH. Travelers who have recovered from COVID-19 must receive 1 dose of a vaccine to be considered fully vaccinated. Student beneficiaries have received allowances and additional school supplies from a humanitarian group watching over those affected by the Marawi siege. More on this from Claire Dighe.
Some 600 learners in Ditsaan Ramain town in the province of Lanao del Sur received their allowance from the Islamic Relief Philippines under the educational component of Sustaining Transformative and Resilient Initiatives in Vulnerable Communities or STRIVE-C in our Now Philippines program. These learners are enrolled in 7 educational institutions supported by the program, of which 4 are madrasa and 3 are government schools. These are Barimbingan Central Elementary School, Gandamato Primary School, Sultan Alawiya Alonto Central Elementary School, Lumbak Ramain Al-Islamiyya, Al-Rashida Al-Islamiyya, Mahad Nasser Al-Islamiyya, and Shamsiya Al-Islamiyya. Siti Jamaira de Sumimba Area Program Manager of Islamic Relief said STRIVE-C is a 3-year project implemented in partnership with Task Force Bangon Marawi. She said educational component of the project aims to provide allowances per month to select 600 learners whose parents or guardians' income were affected by the Marawi siege and further aggravated by the pandemic.
The aim of which is to focus on areas that are affected or are hosting IDPs at Marawi City. Ito yung commitment namin na 3 taon na yung mga bata is we will provide allowances for them and we keep continuing.
With the initiative still pursued, the organization hopes this shall be pursued as well by the local government units even without their existence.
Sana merong mga ganitong activities din kahit walang NGO. Sa amin kasi parang yan yung nagkukulang dito.
Aside from the monthly stipend of the learners, there is also a provision of school supplies, equipment, and furniture, as well as training for teachers. Meanwhile, just in time for Ramadan, the organization completed its first set of Ramadan distribution for over 1,500 households in Lanao del Sur, wherein recipients got 25 kilos of rice and food packs containing bihon, oil, mongo, canned sardines, coffee, and sugar with squash and eggs. For PNA Newsroom, Claire Gighe of the Philippine Information Agency, Lanao del Sur.
Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. All firms will implement a rollback in fuel prices effective tomorrow, easing motorists' burden amid developments in the global oil trade. The Commission on Elections is running after purveyors of fake news, tarnishing the sanctity of the electoral process. The Philippine National Police tags 114 areas in the country as red areas for the 2022 polls. These areas need special attention in terms of security due to intense political rivalry and violence. And government officials wish Filipino Muslims goodwill and peace as the holy month of Ramadan starts, a month of fasting, prayer, and reflection. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day, everyone.